It's more than practical, way more than merely factual. If you wanna know the secrets of a life, it's free. Listen to girls behaving metaphysically. Listen to girls behaving metaphysically.
Welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Your hosts are two girls who believe that life is awesome, that laughter heals, and that it's possible to find deep spiritual insights in everyday experience. Join Robin Rice and Sumaya Wood for this week's adventure.
Woo! Hello.
We made it. Cheers. It's Friday.
We made it. Technical difficulties and all. Happy Friday.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy
I got
Friday.
my tea. I'm just going to take a deep breath.
After our technical difficulty.
I know.
But I don't mind. Can you hear me? Because my microphone is not plugged in.
I can hear you. It's a little wonky. The sound's a little wonky.
I can try plugging it in, but we may lose sound again.
Let's just go with it.
YouTube, we don't want to hear. If it's not good quality, we'll know, and we're sorry. We're so sorry.
Yes, we're sorry. But hello, happy Friday. Welcome to this week's Spiritual Happy Hour. Yay.
Yay. Oh,
I feel like I need to just...
I know. One big om.
Exactly. Well, it is the last Friday in January. Has January gone by really fast, or is it just me?
It's gone by. It's an interesting month. Yeah, it's gone by really fast.
Feels like it's gone by kind of quickly. So it is the last Friday of the month, which is our spiritual movie review, aka Reel to Reel.
Reel to Reel.
Exactly. So on our last Friday of the month, we take random movies, some favorites, some movies that we've never seen, and we break it down from a spiritual / metaphysical perspective. So we like to look at what are the life lessons we can take away, what are the spiritual lessons we can take away, and how can we apply them into our own lives.
Right. And we look at some new movies too.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting to look at some of the old ones and see what you didn't see before. You know, like what you just watched it as a movie, and when you start to like think in these terms, you get to hear something new.
Absolutely. So for this month, we picked one of my favorites. I love it. It's a movie called A Rumor of Angels, which came out in 2000, if I remember correctly. And it stars Vanessa Redgrave, who I love, and Ray Liotta, and a handful of other characters. Oh, you're muted.
Before we talk about that, let's remind everybody, if you're joining us for the right now or during the replay, to please put in hashtag where.
Let us know you're here. If you're joining us live, let us know you're here. Say hello in the comments below. And if you are catching us on the replay, just type in hashtag replay. Let us know you caught the show and what you think. So what did you think of Rumor of Angels, Robin? You had never seen it before.
I had never seen it before. Interesting. That's a loaded question. I mean, I really liked it. In a lot of ways. I mean, I have to review the movie in two different ways. I think, like, if I was just looking at it as a movie, I don't know if I had gone to the theater and paid for it, what I would have thought. But as a stay-at-home movie, I really liked it. And I thought that Vanessa Redgrave was amazing, although it would be hard to find a time when she isn't.
Exactly.
and it was interesting. And now you love the movie.
I do. So we're getting a little feedback that you're echoing from on YouTube. So do you want to try plugging in your mic and see what happens? We'll
I
risk it.
already did.
Okay.
Plugging it in. I was trying to be undercover, and then I couldn't hear you again.
Oh. Boo. So sorry, YouTubers and folks on Facebook. If you're catching the echo, this was part of the technical issue we were navigating that made us a few minutes late. So we'll work on it for next time. See if we can figure it out.
Tell me why you love the movie.
I just love it. It's one of those hidden gems. I saw it when it first came out in a film class I was taking when I lived in New York. And I just loved it. I just loved the storyline. There are not many movies that deal with the subject of death. And this one does so in such a beautiful way that that I feel like it's a gem for that reason, because it not only touches on a subject that many of us find difficult to talk about, it does so in such a lovely way and makes it approachable, if I can put it that way, that subject. And so little trivia tidbit that I learned when I took this in my film class. This movie was based on a book that was published in 1918, which I happen to own because I bought it after I saw the movie. It's called Thy Son Liveth. And it was written by a woman. I can't remember if it's Gracie Duffy Boylan or Gracie Boylan Duffy, but she originally published this anonymously. She was a mother of a soldier who fought and died in World War I, and she communicated with him after he transitioned on the battlefield. And that is the genesis of the book, so they updated it to be in more modern times. So Vanessa in the movie, Vanessa Redgrave's son died in Vietnam. And so we've got a little modern update on a story that's over a century old at this point. So yeah, so that's really what I loved about it. How about you?
Yeah, it's Gracie Duffy Boylan.
Yes, that's it, Boylan. I couldn't remember if it was Duffy Boylan or Boylan Duffy.
Yeah. No, I think in terms of that, I think it serves its purpose beautifully. I think it's, it is a great look at death and life, and especially in our culture here in the America, so to speak, we don't often talk about death. And there's not the same rituals as there are in other places in other countries. So exactly. I think, in terms of that, I think it's a really beautiful in a different way, just to open up that conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. So just quick plot summary. It's it's about a young boy by the name of James who befriends an older woman who, Vanessa Redgrave, who helps him resolve his feelings about the death of his mom. And so we see early on in the movie that James, never really addressed, or was never really allowed to address, or had the opportunity to address his feelings about his mom passing when he was younger. I'm guessing he's probably about 10, 12 years old in the movie. And his mom passed away several years prior. And it's almost like he has PTSD around the experience. The mom died in a car crash that he witnessed. He was witness to. He was there with her. And it does a really beautiful job of exploring his relationship with his dad, his new stepmom, his uncle, who was his mom's brother, and his new friend, Maddie, played by Vanessa Redgrave. And so what was your biggest takeaway, Robin, from the movie?
I think if I had to pick a biggest takeaway, it would just be that continual motion of life. That on the one hand, there is no death. There's just that transition that we're always able to access each other or our energetics on some level.
That's beautiful. And you know what? It segues perfectly for the first clip we picked. That wasn't even planned.
So great.
So here is the first clip of the movie. Just to give you a little bit of a setup, when we meet James and Maddie, let's just say they don't have a joyful, loving relationship at the very beginning of the movie. And Maddie really pushes James's buttons, and she I guess not really thought of it until this moment, but she really almost forces him to step into his voice, because he's not used to expressing himself, expressing his feelings out loud. And through the course of their friendship, he really blossoms in that way where he's able to articulate his feelings, both the what we would call positive and what we'd call negative, in a really beautiful way. And so this scene takes place soon after that friendship has blossomed in this way.
What happened to Bobby? He was killed in the war. Mom was killed too.
Do you ever talk to her?
Who, my mom?
Yeah.
Nah, she's dead.
So?
So I don't talk to her.
Oh, they're opened. We're here. And if we use our eyes, we can see this far. And if we use modern technology, we can see this far. And if we use our hearts and minds, we can see and know amazing things. Mozart had the voices of the angels. The angels are all out here somewhere. And here.
Do you hear voices?
Yes.
I love that scene.
That's a great scene.
It is. It is. So what do you take away? What was your biggest insight from that scene, or what did you love about it?
I think I really like the steps. I like the way she broke it down. I like that, if we use our eyes, if we, the whole thing, just those steps, because I don't think that we remember all the time. I think sometimes we're so in our heads that we don't go to our heart. We believe what we're seeing. As opposed to going with our feeling and what we intuitively know or feel is happening. And I think so much in life, when we get to that point, it's like you're trying to do something because it's the right thing technically, and it's the right thing, but in your heart you're like, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't resonate, and we're not true to ourselves. So I think that's what that scene brought up for me. How about you?
So many things. I think the first thing is that strikes me about that scene is where, Maddie asks, James has just told Maddie that his mom died, and she asks if he ever talks to her. And he's like, but she's dead. What are you talking about, crazy lady? And that's, it's exactly along the lines of what you just said, is that, all of the ways that we think that our experience of life is limited to our physical senses, right? It's
Right.
what we can see, what we can hear, we can, taste, smell, touch. And if we can't do any of that, if he can't, physically experience his mom, why would he ever bother trying to communicate with her?
Right.
And so, and she just does such a beautiful job of exploring with him in a way that's really easy to understand, of all the ways um, that it's possible to see beyond um, and experience the world beyond just our physical senses. And the steps of, seeing with our eyes, and then what we can experience with technology, and then what we experience with our hearts and minds. I just thought all of that was really beautiful,
Right.
and it just does a lovely job setting up the rest of the movie.
Yeah, and I think it's also, it speaks to, I mean, it's such a great compliment to our this year's theme, right?
Yes.
The divine adventure is our theme for the year. And really just trying to be in touch with all those things, because we do. I'll speak for myself. I can get caught up in what's going on in the world, and not take the time to know what I know, or be in the moment, or any of those things. So I think it's yeah, that part is beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And some folks might think, well, how does death fit into the theme for the year of divine adventure? And I think the invitation that we're offering is that the way we traditionally think about death, especially here in the States, is not necessarily the way it is, right? Here it's like you die and then that's it. And then you're in a box underground, or you're cremated, and that's it. And I think the invitation of the movie, um, and I think this is one of the reasons why I wanted to explore this movie this month, as we kicked off our Divine Adventure theme for the year, is that, what if it's not that way? And on the spiritual path, that's I think what we invite folks to explore, is that the the totality of who we are is not limited to our physical bodies. And yeah, and that's what the movie, I think, shows. Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, and what bigger adventure?
I know.
I mean, it's the one adventure that we can't really say we know much about. I mean,
No.
from our experience.
Unless you've
So,
had like a near-death experience or something like
yeah,
that.
or unless you've, unless you're channeling or all those things. But still, it does. Even if you've never experienced the totality of it.
Yeah.
So it's all a divine adventure.
Right. And it's the one divine adventure that we can't really know until we experience it.
Right.
We can speculate. And so, and what I love about, both the book and the movie, is that it really explores that idea. And so, in the book and the movie, in the movie, Maddie has started communicating with her son even before she got formal notification from the military that he had transitioned. And so she's got this journal that she keeps of all of her communications with him. And my favorite line, which they took from the book, is, "Mother, the soul leaves the body as a boy jumps out of a school door, that is suddenly and with joy." And it's just, I mean, every time I hear that, you can visualize it, right? You can just see like a little kid running out of school, excited for the end of the day. And that's typically not how we think about death.
Right.
And I just think it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I do too. I will say that I think this movie really does a great job with creating a space where you know and feel the background story.
Mhm.
So like, you know that James thinks she's a crazy lady, but he's intrigued by that's the scary house on the island or whatever, and
Right.
he's investigating, and she knows she's the crazy lady. You can feel it. She knows that she's the crazy lady, and like you said, when that image is just so beautiful, because they do give you beautiful images.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so so this is the first kind of scene where we see James really start to think about a different possibility in terms of his relationship with his mom, with his mom and his communication with his mom. And he still is unable to communicate with his dad about his relationship with his mom, and the scene immediately after, I think it's immediately after the one we just played, he tries to broach the subject with his dad, and his dad clearly just doesn't want to talk about his mom. And so you can see that his relationship with Maddie is really his opportunity to grieve and express his love, and his love and his sadness about his mom's passing, his love for her, and his sadness about her passing. And that's just the beautiful arc in the movie. Should we jump to the next clip?
Yes.
Okay, this is a slightly longer clip, folks, we know, but it's such a great scene. And so just to tee it up a little, Maddie has kind of, through observation and getting to know James, she has understood that he has never really processed his feelings about his mom's passing. And so in this scene, she helps him explore feelings that he's never really explored previously.
Open your eyes. Open your eyes.
I can't do it.
You have to look.
Oh, wait,
No,
you
trust
do
me.
this.
You have to look. It'll hurt much less, I promise you. Look. Open your eyes. That's right.
Oh, God, it's a raccoon.
No, that's right. Yes, dear, now you tell me. Come on, dear. You tell me. Tell me, dear.
Why'd I have to yell? Why couldn't I keep my stupid mouth shut? Yeah, since the animals were important, I thought that they were. She's trying to visit. I kept telling her I was okay. She never knew. She never knew.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. You know what my son told me? He told me that for every man, woman, and child that's hurt and terrified, there are comforters. And he said one day, I was easing a wounded boy in my arms, but he was crying for his mother, and I couldn't comfort him. I heard someone beside me say, I will take him. It was a soft, strange, white light. I didn't dare look up, but I knew who it was.
Do you think that my mom had someone like that?
I'm sure she did.
I just love that scene.
You love them all.
I do. But it's you know, it's not until this scene that we realize that he's been blaming himself for his mom's death.
Right.
And he's never had the opportunity, even though we learn earlier in the film that he worked with a counselor after his mom died and everything. But clearly that trauma and that sense of feeling responsible for her death, he's never had a chance to deal with. And
Right.
that's so much to carry for a little kid, for anybody, but, especially a little kid.
And how often do we do that? And
Yeah.
especially around death. But how often do we think it's okay, it's done, or, and it's not done.
Yeah.
It's not processed at all.
Absolutely. And so, kind of one of the big life lessons for me after watching the movie with this new lens is to really start exploring what are the things that I'm not talking about and not exploring, and why, and what are the areas where I'm not allowing others, right? I think about Ray Liotta, who plays James's dad, who we'll see in the final clip that we'll share. But where are we, or are there instances where we're not allowing others to express, emotions that they may have buried?
Well, and that they don't even know, or they don't know.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so beautiful about, Maddie in this scene, is she's really giving, not only giving him permission, but she's bearing witness. And how, as I watched it this time, I kept thinking about how important it is sometimes for us to just have a witness. We don't need them to do anything, but just having a witness to really see us in all our glory.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting because I'm thinking about what we talked about last week with our guest Ron Wallace, and I'm thinking also, and I know we talked a little bit that this comes up in the film, but even in this scene, it's like, just thinking about the child and the child in all of us, because it doesn't really matter if you're James's age or later. If you're, when we have those moments of hysteria and loss and fear and all of those things and blame, and how do we, that's the child in us. How do we connect even as an adult now with the child in us to be able to say, oh, this is what we need. Here's what we need.
Exactly. And Gil is watching along and said, wow, I think after that scene, and just said, just having someone just to stand with us is so important. And it's after this scene. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and to stand, not only to stand with us, but what Maddie did was she really stood in the truth. I mean, she held the ground. She was like, knowing the truth that his mother knew, his mother, that there was, I mean, obviously she knew there was no separation, but just really easing that. I mean, you know what I mean? She didn't just stand with him and go, go ahead, process it. I know it's painful.
Right. Yeah.
She really was that anchor to what we believe, that, life is eternal somehow, or that, whatever you believe, that things are unsaid, but people know, there's all kinds of ways we could go on that particular piece, but it was powerful.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I loved about the scene was she pulled him in, right? He didn't want to. So at the very beginning of the movie, we see James get to the exact same bridge and he freezes. And, the trauma just has him stuck there, motionless until his uncle comes to pick him up. And in this scene, it starts out, and I cut out about a minute before, where you can sense James's trepidation just approaching the bridge, and she just has to really pull it out of him and really give him permission and let him know that bottling it up is not his path to feeling better. It's by experiencing those feelings so he can get them out of his body that he's really gonna experience the shift. And she just holds him for that entire time while he's reliving the most traumatic experience in his life.
And that there's more, that it's not over, and that there's more. Even if we don't talk about the afterlife, there's more for him. There's more for him to learn and to grow and to take from this moment.
Exactly.
So somehow, on some level, I don't want to say that the moment isn't in vain, but it becomes more of a tool as opposed to, him having to feel bad.
Yeah.
About it.
Yeah. And the last thing that I'll say about this scene that I loved is that, oftentimes we look to those people who are closest to us, whether it's a family member or a partner, a parent or a child, to kind of help us move through those rough patches. And he had to go to somebody outside of his family and bond with them, because that was where he had the kind of freedom to express all of those feelings that he'd been bottling up for so many years. And so for me, it was just an invitation to about the importance of just paying attention to the people who show up in our lives, even if it's just for a season, of the gifts that they might bring into our experience if we're just open to it.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I loved it. Anything else before we jump to our final scene?
Nope. Roll on.
Okay, so just to tee it up, this is towards the tail end of the movie, and James has found his voice.
I heard you say to Mary that you wouldn't take this away from me.
Well, I was wrong and Mary was right.
This is all her fault, everything.
James, there's a lot of things that you don't understand.
And there's a lot of things that you don't understand.
She
either.
loves you, James.
I don't care how much she loves me.
She's trying her damnedest to be part of our family.
Oh, yeah? Well, she's trying too damn hard.
Listen to me. You need somebody just like I need somebody.
We can take care of ourselves, Dad. You never asked me if I wanted another mother. You just said, here's your new mother.
James, you don't know what you want.
Oh, yes, I do. I want you to be home. I want to talk about Mom. You never, ever want to talk about Mom. You never want to talk about what happened. I was there. I was there. Mom died while I was holding her. And never once did you ask me what that was like. Maddie is someone who I can talk about anything I want. I froze on the road, Dad. I tried to tell you, but you wouldn't listen. I took Maddie to the bridge, and she made me talk about it. She listened, Dad. She was interested, Dad. The night that Mom died, when you were in your room, I heard you crying. You said that you never got to tell her that you loved her. You know what, Dad? Neither did I.
That little kid is such a good actor. I know, right? He's so good. Every time I see the movie, because I've seen it a few times, I always am just amazed at how much emotion he's able to just launch into in the various scenes in the movie.
Yeah, well, it's so telling. I mean, it's we've all had that moment. It's that moment where you just let it go. And,
Yeah.
where you're clear.
And nothing's going to stop you.
Yeah. 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 It's an amazing thing. And again, it's where it's where the, like we talked about last week, where the child is in the parent mode, and
yeah.
I don't even know that I think the parent just, I don't know what mode he was in. He was in shock, but I mean, it's where you have to listen and go, oh crap,
Yeah. And it might not even be, oh crap. What I love about Ray Liotta's reaction in this scene is, two things. One is he thinks he knows his son better than his son knows himself, and he thinks he's too young to kind of know what he wants. And is in for I don't want to say rude awakening. We'll just say awakening. In that front. And then he also, that scene, it's his kid is forcing him to confront those feelings that he's buried.
Right. Well, that's what I meant by, oh crap. It's like,
yeah,
it got real, it got real for him. Like, and I think, this happens with it happens in all relationships, I'm sure, but it comes up as parents, especially because parents think that their kids don't notice things.
Yeah.
Or aren't aware of what's going on. And then, you turn around and they know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Gil just shared, how can we do anything if we don't process those feelings? Absolutely. Right. And that's the stuff that keeps us stuck. And I think that's one of the key kind of, life lessons for me from the movie overall is, we see James blossom once he's able to process those emotions, those feelings that he's been carrying around for years. And, immediately after this scene, we see his relationship with his dad start to blossom in a new way, that we hadn't seen prior, because they've both kind of gotten raw and really expressed those feelings that aren't always pleasant to deal with.
But we really see we see all the relationships blossom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we see the brother-in-law go, didn't you want to talk to me? He's like, nope. And we see and then, with the girlfriend, Mary, I mean,
she's the wife. Yeah. The
stepmother.
Yeah.
Everybody creates there's a new opening that happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And isn't that the truth? I mean, when we let it go, or even the times when, I've just focused on something else in my own life, or, prayed or held the high watch for something, and then all of a sudden all this stuff shows up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's used the perfect word is opening, right? Because when we're like scrunched because we don't want to deal with, and that's a very technical spiritual term.
The spiritual scrunch.
Exactly. When we're spiritually scrunched, it's
We'll have
that.
to put it in our metaphysical dictionary.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it.
But it gets the point across when we're like contracted, when we're not willing to, go there, when we're trying to shut some aspect of us off, either because we don't want to deal with the emotions or we think people will think it's wrong or judge us for, not being spiritual because we're angry or sad or whatever. That contraction impacts every area of our lives.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we're in the thick of it, it's really hard to see. I don't know. So what else? Anything else? Did we do anything that we didn't talk about?
Well, I think when we pull it all together, it's really about, I think January and going into February, as we're going to be talking about, health and love and
Money.
money, and all those things. I mean, I think it's looking at the whole, because every aspect that we've talked about, what are you holding on to? What are you not admitting to yourself? What are we keeping down? All these themes and different themes that come up in the movie. It's about, in some ways, a death of an old idea. I mean, when we take it even out of the physical, it's about letting go of things that don't serve us to be alive with us anymore.
Yeah.
So how do we move forward? How do we move forward like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Gil says, how can we do anything if we don't somehow process those feelings? 100%, Gil, because otherwise we're scrunched. I'm sticking with it. It's my new favorite spiritual term.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
It's absolutely true. It's
well, it's true, but it's also, I mean, how can we do anything if we don't somehow process those feelings? Yes, and how do we do things when we don't process those feelings? Because there are times we don't process those feelings, and then how does that manifest? I mean, because that's what manifests as possibly as our health, as our wellness, as our state of being, as our, because we're holding on to those things that don't serve us.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's an interesting opening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because if we're constricted somehow in some way emotionally, it's going to show up somewhere in our experience. It could be money, it could be health, exactly like you said. And I think that's the invitation for the movie, right? In addition to inviting us to think about death in a new way, I think it's really the invitation to live, right? Live fully, live freely, without constriction, and from that new place of just letting it all out, and not in a really gross way of letting it all out, but letting it all out in a way that so that we empty ourselves up so that we can be filled up with something new, I guess is how I'd say it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. It does make sense. And I would say it's like, when I think about it in terms of death, it's like what would it be like if we were okay with it? It's like,
Yeah.
So when you say letting go, not in a gross way, I think like, no, letting go in a taking out the trash way,
Exactly. Exactly.
It's something that needs to happen in order to move forward. And Gil is saying, think about life in a new way.
Yeah. I
In
was
a
just about was going to let you finish and then pop that up, but thinking about life in a new way, and it's really deep, authentic life, right? So it's not that superficial, um, nature. And I think this is a perfect time to bring in the last thing that Maddie says to James um, at the tail end of the movie, and I'm not going to spoil it, but she says, "Grief is remorse for things left undone." Right, and so how much are we going through life grieving some aspect? It might be the passing of a loved one, and it might be something else, right? Something that we wish we had done that we didn't, or vice versa. And how those feelings of grief, by continuing to carry them forward and not really ever addressing them, how does that really constrict us and keep us from moving forward?
It's a good thing to think about, and we will definitely be touching on those things in other shows.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So anything that I missed?
I don't think so. I don't think so. So on our scale of, what is our scale? 1 to 10? 1 to 5?
Sure. 1 to 10.
Okay. Our 1 to 10 metaphysical, I don't know why, but the image of like how many, I was thinking about rotten apples, I think, or rotten tomatoes, whatever it is. And I was thinking, how many smoothies would you give it? Our metaphysical chart. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the very best, the most amazing movie on the planet, what would you give it?
I'd give it like an 8, 8.5.
I would give it, all things factored in, even things that we didn't talk about. I think I'd give it a, I think I'd give it a 6 plus.
Okay.
Mostly because, yeah, doesn't really matter, does it? I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's mostly technical things that I, as a actor, creative person, think. So not, but in terms of the message, I'd give the message definitely an 8 plus.
Yeah, I do for message.
Like, it's not, for me, it's not a movie that I would have been like, oh crap, I had to watch this. It's definitely a movie that's, poignant, and I'm sure the book is too.
It is. I haven't read it. I pulled it out. I haven't read it since I first got it, which was, 19, 20 years ago. So it's making me want to reread it.
When you said that, when I found out it was a book, it reminded me of that book that people used to talk about I think it was 2 nuns that were really close.
Oh, yeah.
And then they had a whole thing afterwards. Yeah,
I can't remember their names, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so for folks who might be interested in the book, I did a quick check, and you can find it on Google Books for free. And also I didn't check this out, but I saw when I did a search that there were PDFs available, it looked like. So it's totally in the public domain. So if you're interested in having a look, I'm sure there are multiple places you can find it online for free.
And if you want to watch it, it's also online for free at Amazon and YouTube.
It's on YouTube and IMDb for free. And then if you are a Prime member on Amazon, you can also watch it as part of your Prime membership.
And if you thought this was fun, do we have an opportunity for you? We are so excited that we are going to be launching our reel-to-reel class. It's not really a class. reel-to-reel play shop workshop.
Yes.
Fun come pandemic movie time. Starting in February
February 28th. Yes.
She flashes it off quickly because those dates are wrong.
No, they're right. It's February
No.
28th at the bottom.
Oh, okay. And yeah, you'll be able to find that information on our website or on our Girls Behaving Metaphysically page on Facebook. But we'd love to have you, and we're gonna have a good time and talk about all this kind of stuff together. You don't have to just listen to us. We'll listen to you.
Absolutely. So I will include the link. You can find out more on Eventbrite. And so if you just do a quick search on Eventbrite, you can find the link, and I will also insert it in the notes in the comments below.
So next week, join us. We're going to be going into February, and we're going to be talking about how did you phrase it? The health.
I don't remember.
We don't remember, but what I do know is that we're going to have a guest, and her name is Cindy Edelson, and she is a New Thought Ancient Wisdom minister, and she is also a practitioner of the energy code Sue Mortar work. So we're going to be talking a lot about energy, the energetics of health, and just diving deep into really health beyond our bodies.
Yes.
And see where we go.
Yes, I remembered. I said, what are you taking in?
What are you taking in? Oh, that's right. Because our theme for the month is Eat, Love, Pray.
Yes.
Yes, I have that right. Eat, love, pray. Not pray, love. Eat. Not eat, pray, love. Eat, love, pray. So those are the topics we're going to be exploring. What we're taking in, just in the world. And we kind of kicked it off today by James and Maddie and what James held in. So
yeah, exactly.
So come along and join us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, people. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this live, just hit like on down below. And if you are on YouTube and want to be notified of future shows, don't forget to hit the subscribe button along with notifications. And did I miss anything?
That's it.
That's it. That's all for now, folks. Thanks
That's
for joining.
a wrap.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.